So today we are taking the bus to its first competition. This is kind of a big deal for us because we've never brought this thing to a competition. We tried to, but we broke down on the way there. So this comp is a competition that they try to cram into one day. So it means we got to start really early, which means even though it's local and it's close to us, we had to get up before the sun rose to get ready and get headed out on the road. We had everything packed up, so that was easy, but still, it's a pretty early start. I'm not a huge fan of waking up this early, but it is nice cruising to the track, minimal traffic on the road, and watching the sunrise. So we're still limping with some issues here on the bus. We had a power steering line start to leak profusely, and we haven't got the replacement lines in yet. So we patched it up as best we could, a little bit better than we did before. We put a little catch basin in there, and it's a short enough trip to where we were confident we could make it there without having to top it off while we're there, and then make it back. That was the goal at least. But unfortunately, as we were headed there, while it was a really nice, smooth drive, watching the sun come up, cruising through the back roads, we started to develop another issue, this time with the generator. It started acting funny. The AC started being weird because the generator is acting funny. At this point, I'm just hoping we can get there. It is not a far drive. I'm just hoping we can at least get in the gates, get set up and drive, and deal with the rest later. So fortunately, despite our problems, despite our struggles, we made it to the gates. We are at the track. So we pulled in around 7:30. The driver's meeting wasn't till 8:15, and we didn't make it in the gates until about 8:30. So weren't off to the best start, but we were here. The bus made it. Hey, that counts for something. All right, guys, before we get too deep into today's video, I wanted to talk to you about today's video sponsor, Factor. So I have been using Factor for years now, and it has been just an absolute game changer. It is the perfect blend of convenience and quality all at the same time. So Factor delivers fresh, never frozen meals right to your door, and they are ready to eat in 2 minutes. 2 minutes, like you can't beat that. So I've been using them for dinner along with HelloFresh, and those two combined have allowed me to just get rid of that crutch of takeout. It's so easy to fall back on it when you're running low on time, you're in late, and you don't want to do anything. But with Factor, pop the meal in the microwave, 2 minutes later, it's ready to go, it's ready to eat, and it is delicious, and it is real quality food, which is a huge thing that I was not getting elsewhere, and has made a big difference in the way I feel in my day-to-day, not to mention lunch. That is I used to not eat lunch at all because I hated how much it slowed me down. You know, it takes so much time to go make the food or go get the food, and then you sit down, then you eat, and then it takes a while to get spooled back up. You get that kind of food coma, and then you're sluggish and slow, and that's in the prime time of my day. Like, I don't have time for that, you know? I need all the hours in the day and plus some. So with Factor, I've got a meal that's ready in 2 minutes. I eat it since it's real quality food. I actually feel more energetic after than less, and it's just, I can't say enough good things about it. I mean, I've told so many people about Factor, and I've heard nothing but good things from everyone who's tried it. It really is just kind of the perfect combination of things in my eyes. You get good tasting, good quality food. It's convenient at a good price. You're saving money on takeout. You're saving the headache on going grocery shopping, and you're saving time on cooking. So it's like, it's so good. It's so good. So if you're interested in trying it out for yourself, head to factor75.com or click the link down below and use code TaylorDrifts50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. It's a great way to try it out yourself, because it has been a game changer, and I don't say that lightly. So that being said, we need to get back to it. We got a lot of driving to do and some upsets, so stay tuned. All right, well, we made it out to Orlando Speed World for the USDC Pro-Am event. Now, we didn't intend to run any of these this year, but this is the second time where we've broken down on the way to an event we planned on running. Car was all dressed up with nowhere to go, fully prepped, nut and bolt checked, fuel, everything, tires. So we decided to bring it out here. First time was LS Fest Texas, when my 2020 Super Duty broke down halfway and we had to turn around. And this was the following weekend. That was round 1, and then now this is round 3, and we were going to LS Fest East. So LS Fest has been our kryptonite, but we didn't have the best experience at round 1. Just some very questions with the judging, and made it to the top 4 and then got knocked out, and didn't necessarily understand why, but that's part of it. Needless to say, we weren't really planning on coming back, but it's our local track. It's right down the road from us. It's an oval, which is good seat time. If we're going to take it to a higher level in drifting, we're going to have to compete on a lot of ovals. So it's good practice for that kind of stuff. and you know, why not? So we got the bus out here. Still got our power steering leak, but we didn't have time to fix it. But we got the car ready. Hopefully there's some shredders. There seem to be some shredders. So as long as the car feels decent, I think we'll be in good shape. Well, we're in grid. We got I guess, a delayed start. They said it was starting on time. It's 9:30. It was supposed to start at 9. Very early day. Yeah, the bus generator's being a little weird. Like, the power just keeps, like, kind of flickering no matter how much load you have on it. Like, even with the ACs off, just one light. So we need to tinker with that, but we're busy. But anyway. So after the first lap, I was pretty happy with my lead. There was room for improvement, but it was pretty solid first run off the trailer, or should I say, out of the bus. So I decided to focus on my chase runs. When it comes to competition drifting, leading up to qualifying, everyone wants to lead because they want to get ready for qualifying, and then leading up to tandem, everyone wants to chase. So if I know that I'm confident in my lead and it doesn't need a ton of work, I'll just go ahead and try to chase as much as I can, so that way I get the practice and I get more laps because there's more people lined up in the lead line. So our car is fast, it is quick, and we've never tandemed it on a bank like this, so we're trying to get a feel for chasing slower cars, you know, cars that are still quick, but they're a little bit slower than us. And when you have a slower car in front of you in drifting, you naturally want to drive through them. The more grip you put in the car, the faster you need to be going to stay sideways. So that is a challenge in and of itself, but we're having some fun. I got to do a lap with my buddy Fellow. It was my first chase run. Felt really good, and now we're lining up with Brandon McDowell. So he also has a Turbo LS, pretty much the same power as my car. However, he didn't realize there was a start light, so he leaves the line way early, and I decided to try to catch him, so it's not a throwaway run. And fortunately, you know, we caught him pretty early on the bank. So we're just out here having fun, trying to get some good chase practice in and make sure we're ready come competition time, not worry so much about qualifying. So after a good session of practice, mostly doing chase runs, it was time for qualifying. This is knockout, so it's one and done. We need to put down a good score, but not take huge risks. I was just checking something. we managed to qualify first, which is exciting because the car is fast. This is the first time I've driven it on the OSW oval, any oval, tandem. I've done 3 times, I think we've come to the oval in the past like 4 or 6 months, something like that. But we've never tandem, never chased anybody, never had really a speed reference, anybody else driving it. And it is moving, but it's super drivable. It's not like it's so hooked up that I'm like struggling, like I'm entering up on the wall, and it's able to stay there comfortably. I'm not having to use a ton of left foot brake. Like, the car feels dialed at the grip it's at. Now, it is too much. It is a lot of grip compared to, if we were going against a slower car, which I don't know who we're going against yet. We should have a buy run into the 16 through the top 32 since we qualified first, and we will be leading every time, which is hugely beneficial given our scenario because the car is fast. So I'll know at the end of that run if I was, they were anywhere near me, they were really far back, and I know how much room I can give them on the run up. I'm going to have to give them room on that entry, because if I don't, I might have too much grip. And if you have too much grip and you're behind someone going a lot slower than you, the more grip you have, the faster you need to be moving to keep the car sideways. So if we were too close to them and then we can't keep our speed up, then we might straighten out. I really don't want to lose that way. But every comp we've done, I've taken grip out of this thing, taking grip out. I've been so afraid to put too much in it, and I've always regretted it. At least if I have too much, yes, I've got to tame it, and it is just as challenging as having too little, but I can control the pace. I can hold back a little bit and then just drive right back up to them. So we're going to go on the side of too much grip. It might bite us. It's totally possible it bites us, but we're going to try it and see how it goes. As long as we can keep doing the leads consistent, I feel like we'll be in pretty decent shape, but time will tell. As long as I've just got to basically not get choked up in the chase with anybody. But I'm feeling good. I'm very, very happy with that run. The seat time we got on the oval, just testing the car out, has definitely worked out for us here. Because I never really drove the oval much before that. So jibber jabber. We got a break, then we got practice, and then we are into comp. So probably do a little bit in practice. I said the practice session, I can't not drive it, but I wish we were going straight into comp. Anyway, do some more driving, do some competing, see how it goes. So we went back out for practice, only planned to do a few laps. I was feeling good with my leads. I was going to try to get some chasing in, but now is when everyone's going to want to chase. But I did manage to line up behind Sasha Prospero. He is a really good driver, so I knew I could put it on his door. I gave him a little bit of room on the run-up just to see where we were at pace-wise, and then started working on closing it. So as we came around this last turn, his car was just so settled, and I had to go for a little door tap. No big mark, just a little tap. It was really fun. Door tapping in this car is something I've just started doing, and I never go for the tap unless I can do it without denting the car, and it was a perfect door tap. So that was really fun, really good way to end practice. So now it's time to get ready for competition. Now, unfortunately, they blew through the top 32 competition really fast. There was a lot of buy runs and competition buy runs. And the next thing you know, they're telling us we got to be up there right now. Oh, well. Send me a text. Like big gap, medium gap. Like Brandon's gap was a big gap. That's the big gap. So generally, I'm big on being where I need to be before I need to be there for competitions, because it's one of those things you don't want to miss your run over not being there. However, this one was a different scenario. The top 32 normally takes 2 hours. I thought probably 45 minutes to an hour. Well, 20 minutes in, they were telling us we needed to be up there right now, or we were going to have to call our 5-minute timeout because we weren't ready. And so I jumped in the car. Luckily, we had everything done. The car was sitting there more or less ready. I didn't get a chance to adjust the tire pressures for the conditions. We had adjusted them based on driving an hour from now and the sun goes down, and it was a bit hectic. It was a bit of a rush to get to the line, but fortunately we made it without having to call our 5, and it's time to go against our buddy Steven. Definitely not the draw I would have wanted on the top 16. He's, in my opinion, one of the best drivers here. I would say top 3 for sure. So this is going to be a tough one, but the benefit is I know I can trust him. I know he's going to be consistent in the lead. He's not going to do anything crazy crazy wonky. So it's really just going to be a good heads-up battle to see who comes out on top. So it's time to warm the tires up and leave the line for our first battle. This is where all that practice, everything else kind of goes away. It doesn't really matter anymore. It all comes down to what happens in this moment. You could have the best practice runs of your life all day long and then mess it up here. You know, that's the tough thing about comp drifting. You know, one mistake can be all it takes to take you out. So the point is, we need to be ready. It's time to go shred. So we had put down a solid lead run. I was really happy with that. I mean, I missed the second inner clip by a couple feet. You know, I was on the third hash mark, so maybe a little ding there, but otherwise it was not much different than my qualifying run. So time to go up and chase them. I'm gonna leave them a little room since we're gonna be quicker, but not too much room. It's a fine line. So in my head here, I'm thinking, I know I bobbled on the transition, but I'm confident I didn't straighten or anything. I know it was weird. They'll probably have to take a look at it, verify that I didn't straighten, and we should have the win based on what I could see from the driver's seat. That's what I'm thinking. Slow transition, but it didn't straighten. I can see how if you didn't look at the wheels, you could think that, but I definitely didn't straighten.
We can, like I said, this is that. fine line. We can go and fight it.
No, I'm not fighting.
And it's just that they're going from the Plover, the drone. That's what they're going on.
So let's do a little recap of these two runs. So I led first, the highest qualifying driver leads first, and fortunately, since we qualified first, we're gonna lead first every time. So we throw it in on the bank, we're up there in the zone. We weren't all the way up there till about midway, but by midway through to the end, we were pretty much dang near rubbing the bumper on the wall. We got good and tight on that front clip. We missed the second front clip. We got to it, but about the third hash mark, not really where you wanna be. But we got into the last outside zone early, rode the white line all the way around. Pretty solid lead, all things considered, pretty similar to my qualifying run. So as you can see, as far as his chase run, he's a good bit lower than us on the bank. You know, we're all the way up there. He's down towards the inside, cutting line a little bit far back. As we come through the transition, he makes up a little bit of ground, but as we get around this front clip, you know, I start to pull away a little bit, and there's a pretty considerable gap. So I knew that going into my chase run, I needed to give him some room on the entry. If there's anywhere you're going to get caught out by being too fast, it's going to be on the bank because gravity is just trying to drive you down. So we run up. I end up a little bit closer than I wanted on the start, going a little bit slower. But we enter, we start closing the door. Things are going well. He's running a nice high line. We come off the bank. He's tight on that front clip. I have a little bobble across the middle as I make the transition. We come around, got a decent gap still. I'd like to close it, so I try to close it down by the end and finish off strong to try to seal the deal. So when we left the line, I should have let him leave before me. I should have waited a little longer, but I didn't, and then he actually missed the shift going into the second gear. So that's what kind of put me a little bit closer than I wanted, but we did manage to stay up there nice and high on the bank with him. He's left foot braking to stay in the zone. We come off the bank, and he comes across and is pretty tight on that front clip. He kind of center punches it, and that's where I shallow up angle to make sure I didn't drop tires off the inside of the track. That white line on the inside is considered off track. So since I was a little bit out of position, I was kind of having to make some compromises to avoid dropping tires off track. I really just wanted to make sure I stayed in bounds. So you can see on the run up, you know, we're really putt-putting it. I'm going slower than I wanted to, and at a certain point I realized that I've got to initiate. Otherwise I'm going to zero for not initiating in time. So I'm checking up on the handbrake, trying to keep my gap where it is, and as we come off the bank, I pull some angle out of it, I make a little correction, and then throw the transition and to still make it around the inside clip. So, you know, my goal was to avoid dropping tires off track or plowing through a front clip, and we did manage to do that. So I was pretty happy about that. So even from the outside shot in the slow-mo, you can see in the smoke, you can still see the front wheels are turned a little bit. And then even as we come out of the smoke here, you can see I've still got a little bit of angle in the car. Not a lot of angle, but a little bit of angle. So that's why seat of the pants feel I thought we would be all right, but the judges obviously saw it differently. So here's a little slow-mo of the end just because I was really stoked to battle Steven. I really like Steven. He's a great guy. He's a good friend. He's a great driver. It's just a bummer to lose that way. Losing is fine. Just losing like that is just, it's always a tough one to stomach, but, you know, it's part of it. We didn't protest. We just loaded our stuff up in the bus and got ready to drive this thing home and live to compete another day. All right, well, we made it back home with the bus. Definitely a trip not without its problems, man. The more I use this thing, the more I drive it, the more we work out of it, the more I love this thing, but it just it doesn't seem to love me yet. It's not quite there. We're working on it. We'll get there. So we still had the power steering leak. We put a little more time patching up the hoses now that we could get to them better, put a little catch basin in there to try to catch the fluid, and it was kind of the perfect amount to make it there and fill up there and then make it back. Ran out pretty much right as we got here. So for a temporary solution on a short trip, it worked. Obviously, we are going to fix that ASAP, just waiting on the line. So that wasn't really a problem. We knew that going into it. The generator thing was a nuisance because since it was being weird, we didn't want to run any of the high current stuff like the AC. So pretty much the whole time we didn't have any of the ACs going, and it was something we were worried about while you're trying to do all these other things. But aside from that, this thing actually worked out way better than I could have hoped as a competition rig. That was something I was worried about when I got this thing. Will it be good for a competition? Because comp stuff is definitely different than fun event stuff. At a fun event, the timelines are kind of looser. It's not a big deal if you're a little late to the session. You don't need to bring as much stuff with you. Whereas with a comp, you've got to be on the ball. You've got to be ready. You got to be able to get something knocked out fast. You got to be where you need to be when you need to be there. You know, it's a different thing. It's a totally different environment. And actually, it was great, honestly. I mean, Josue could probably tell you, but it's The biggest thing is you've got the car out here. Instead of having to keep going in and out of the bus to get everything is accessible from outside. We've got our toolbox here with the majority of our tools in it. We've got our wheels and tires in here, our jack stands, gears, gear oil. We've got fuel jugs in here. So pretty much everything we need on a regular basis throughout the event is accessible from right here. So that was huge. You know, that was great. Even without having the awning, if we had both awnings working, woo, and the AC. So even without the AC, it's still made for a great chill spot, because back here in the garage, we basically left this open like you would a trailer. So you can hang out in here, but you're not kind of out of reach. If someone needs to find you, tell you something, whatever. So nice chill spot in here. But then if you wanted to kind of get away and take a break, you could come in here and chill and have some privacy, be able to relax, some peace, some quiet. So overall, using it at the event, using it at a comp, it was great. It was really good. The more I drive it, the more comfortable I get. And this thing really is pretty dang effortless to drive. You know, the engine power is good. I'm used to the shape of it now. So all that was good and well. Again, it's still, we just got to win her over. She's still not in love with us yet. And she's throwing a bit of a fit, but we'll get there. We'll get there. And we've used it enough now I'm confident it's worth it to put the effort in for the end result. How do you feel? You think so?
Yes.
Love this thing. So that's the bus side of things. Car side of things. Comp side of things. Definitely kind of what we expected. Definitely a little disappointing. Oh, one other thing on the bus side of things is we can fit a lot more in here than we thought. So we could bring the car probably another foot forward. But even with it where it is now, we very easily fit 4 tires. 4 wheels with tires back here. We could fit another 4 and strap them to the same E-Track if we needed to. So that means we can bring 18 fully mounted wheels and tires with us. And these are not small wheels and tires. So that alone is huge. Oh, we got a little leak. Look at that drip. It has been raining hard, nonstop. But that being said, the comp side of things, I was worried that something like that would happen. It's unfortunate, it's a bummer, but it's one of those things, you know, it's part of doing a judge sport. And every time something like this happens, it definitely makes me excited to do something like no prep here in the future. But yeah, definitely a bummer to go out like that. You know, I feel like we had the car to beat. Our car was flying. The car was on rails, and I don't know why. I've never liked that term, and I've always thought it didn't make sense, but it is the best way I can describe how this thing felt. I mean, from lap 1, I just felt dialed in the car. Even though it was fast, it was very controllable, very easy to drive. You know, we've made changes to the rear, the way it makes grip, which has helped a lot. We fixed the front, found out our alignment was all out of whack for a long time, and just finally using the grip and the power. For so long, I've been so afraid to put too much grip in it. And it's silly looking back because I wasn't using the car. I wasn't using it for what it's meant for. And so far, up until this comp, every time we've lost, let me squeeze back through here. Every time we've lost in the lead run. Made some mistake on the lead run, which is frustrating because in my Miata, we always had the leads unlocked. I was never worried about losing on a lead run. It was just in the chase. Usually we'd lose to a pro guy in a pro car, and we just wouldn't have enough for him. Now we have enough for him. We have more than enough for him. You know, we have the car to do it, and I'm not losing on the chase, I'm losing on the lead by making these silly mistakes, dropping a tire off, you know, plowing a front clip or whatever. So I was really happy that we had our leads locked in. We didn't lose on the lead. We lost on the chase. I still don't necessarily agree. I don't feel that should have been deemed a straighten, just based on what I saw, but that's the thing with comp drifting. Even something as kind of cut and dry as a straighten, a 0, you know, it's still open to interpretation. And basically the way it works is if you get a 0, it's as if the run didn't exist. So it doesn't matter how good the rest of the run was or how bad it was. A 0 is just a cut and dry. It's as if you never left the line. So the whole battle hinged on whether that was a straighten or not, whether that was a 0 or not. Now, of all the times I've competed, that time it would have made the most sense to protest, just because it would have been like, hey, look, I think you guys got this wrong. I don't think I straightened. I think you should look at another camera angle, because they only use the drone footage to review it. You know, look at another camera angle, see if my front wheels are straight. That's usually how you determine if someone's straightened or not. However, as you know, if you followed along, you've seen us do a lot of competitions. I'm against protesting. I have never protested in all the years I've competed. I wasn't going to start now for a comp that we're just there for seat time in a comp environment, because you can't really replicate a comp environment, against someone who's there for the points for the season, and that someone is also our friend. You know, in that scenario, just I wasn't going to compromise my morals and do a protest, but definitely a bummer, you know, because I was feeling so good. The car was dialed, the team was dialed, you know, Raldo and Josue were killing it, changing tires and doing everything, and I could take a break, and it was really good. It was really good up until it wasn't. So one of those things, part of it. So anyway, I'm sure this is long-winded, but all in all, I'm very happy with my driving for the weekend. I think it's the best driving I've done in that car, even though the result doesn't necessarily reflect that. So there's a lot of positives to take. But that being said, the bus still needs some love. Needs some more love. We're just adding to the list. But we'll get this thing there. It'll get there. And I need to, continue working on my driving in that car, but we're really getting there. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. But let me know what you guys think of the comp, the bus, the vet, all those things. But for now, that's going to be a wrap. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Goodbye.